It's a battle of the Columbias tonight in SEC basketball. The Gamecocks are in Como to take on 19th ranked Mizzou. South Carolina playing just their 7th game of this season. Take the floor ready for a big one tonight. Welcome everybody in our respective basements. Tom Hart, John Sunvold over there. Sonny, it's been a wild year for the South Carolina team. They are incredibly talented, yet they've only played 6 games because of COVID issues, and that extends all the way to their head coach, Frank Martin. He was back on the sideline and ran through practice yesterday, but a lot of talent on the South Carolina team, even though we may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, Tommy, Frank told us today he liked this team in June, he liked them in October and November, December, likes them now. They just haven't played many games. A talented team that understands how to play the game the way Frank Martin wants them to play the game. And when you think about what they've done so far, even in their few games, A.J. Lawson has been outstanding. In their only 2 conference games, he leads the league in scoring. On the other side, Jeremiah Tillman is doing everything Conzo Martin needs him to do. Powerful in the last 3 games, a couple double-doubles mixed in there, rebounding, shot blocking, running the floor, scoring. Best thing for Mizzou fans, he's not fouling, and that keeps him on the floor.
Joe Lindsay puts it up. We've got a bad toss. We've got a bad toss at the tip. Come on, we can be better than this. And so they'll stop it, and Mike Nance says, let's try it again. Tillman and Levesque at the center circle at Mizzou Arena. A second came off the clock. We'll do it again after the clock is reset. Same starters for Missouri. They've been all season. We'll introduce you to South Carolina starters in just a moment. 3-3 on the season, 1-1 in conference play. They had a great game at LSU last time out. They led for 33 minutes on Saturday, but they couldn't close it out. And no doubt a conditioning an issue for the South Carolina team. Jeremiah Tillman with the kick. They'll put a few more ticks on the shot clock as this first South Carolina possession continues. 72 points a game for a Carolina team that's shooting 43% from the floor. And like Frank Martin's motto, they like to run. They like to get up and down the floor. They've got the talent to do so. Here's Minaya.
And they'll take quick shots if they can push it. But remember, Missouri's an outstanding defensive team, as is Carolina. Should be a great matchup.
Offensive foul on 7th Woods. Great to see Frank Martin with the new do back on the sideline. He did not make the trip to LSU. Neither did his #1 assistant, Chuck Martin. Bruce Shingler led the way in that one. 9th season as South Carolina's head coach. We had an insightful visit with Frank today. They're always wide-ranging and well-rounded. Tillman draws the foul from Levesque. It's his first. Here's a look at the starters for South Carolina, brought to you by Farm Rich. Includes 7th Woods, former high school phenom, making another start, his 4th of this still young season for the Gamecocks. Kobe Brown goes back door, got off balance, and used every bit of the rim.
Good execution against a zone defense from the underneath out of bounds. South Carolina will play mostly man, but if you go underneath out of bounds, they'll zone it up. A pretty good pass inside from Pinson. Good matchups. Drew Smith, one of the better defenders in the SEC on A.J. Lawson. Lawson can catch it and can shoot it quickly, but he'll also put it on the floor, try to finish at the rim.
Van Guzenard off the mark. Minaya has it rejected by Brown. And then Pinson got his hands on it. It'll be Missouri basketball. A little rust for South Carolina early in this one. They were limited in the practice last week trying to return to form. So you see the same starters from Missouri. They've been all season, brought to you by Farm Rich. Pinson, Smith, Brown, and Tillman.
Tigers had an impressive win. Oh, what a good pass.
Wow. Tillman involved early. Interesting how Missouri involves him, Sonny, without traditional post-ups, getting him to the rim and getting him in the flow of the game.
Jeremiah seems to like to move and cut instead of standing on the post trying to get a basketball. And over the 3 years now in his 4th season, the coaches understand where he likes to catch it, how he likes to catch it. He's not the traditional guy that just stands on the block and demands it. He'd probably rather move, but if they can get it to him here, he's been tough to defend.
Nice step through on Levesque. Jeremiah Tillman with 4 early, coming off of a double-double. 14 and 10 in a Mizzou comeback against A&M.
I was going to say that A&M game was impressive, and here's why. A&M's not a great team, but they make you play the way they play. And after a slow first half, Missouri just grinded A&M, kind of like an old-fashioned basketball game. Took good shots, passed up bad shots, and just pummeled A&M at the end. And what a great start for the Tigers tonight.
Mark Smith with the run out. It's an 8-0 Mizzou lead. It's a South Carolina team that hasn't found its rhythm on the offensive end. I mentioned their practice schedule. Last week they only were allowed to go 25% on Tuesday, 50% on Wednesday, full practice Thursday, and then trying to save their legs for the game on Saturday. That's all part of getting your team to ramp up after a COVID shutdown. Tillman, high percentage look. Frank Martin will use a timeout. All black and gold early. This game for Jeremiah Tillman, a microcosm of his growth as a Missouri Tiger.
Impressive start for this Missouri team, and offensively, if Pinson can get on the run and do his thing and make a big defender come get him, you're in trouble. And if Drew Smith off the dribble draws a big man, no one on the weak side. Frank Martin can't be happy defensively how South Carolina started, but what a start for this Missouri team. Conzo Martin on the other flip side of having time off. They had 11 days in between the loss at Mississippi State and when they traveled to A&M. They had 2 games postponed. And last week, Conzo Martin told me he thought it was pretty good for his team. They'd played a lot of games, and they've been through the grind already and getting ready for a longer grind SEC play. So he thought the time off was good, even though each guy could come in. They couldn't practice as a team, but they got their conditioning in, they got shots up, they lifted weights. He was okay with it, but that's different than what Frank Martin has had to deal with in the South Carolina Gamecock team.
Here's Woods trying to run this offense for South Carolina. Just started this game 0 for 4 with a pair of turnovers. So Missouri got back into the A&M game, forced the Aggies into some turnovers right at the start of the second half. Seventh Woods off the mark. Kick feet, and Keyshawn Bryant's got South Carolina's first points of the game, coming off of a career-high 26.
Yeah, Bryant is a high flyer, and he got that offensive rebound, kept that possession alive, and South Carolina needs something to get going.
That was Trey Hannibal jumping the passing lane. Ends up on a foul on Drew Smith after the Hannibal steal. Frank Martin not wasting any time coming out of that timeout, going to the bench early. Mitchell Smith and Drew Buggs will both enter for Missouri.
Keep an eye on the matchup now. Tillman guard Minaya. Minaya can take Tillman outside. Lefty, good shooter from the perimeter.
Shot clock at 4. Woods behind traffic, gives it up late in the shot clock. Nearly a shot clock violation. Not sure how it wasn't. Kicks to Mitchell Smith. Not a great feel for a point guard to give it up that late in the clock. Buggs, a transfer from Hawaii. And a Drew Smith 3. Assistant coach Cornell Mann was trying to get Drew to shoot it. We need you to look at the basket more. No problem there. Keyshawn Bryant down the lane.
Wow. We said powerful, quick off his feet. Must stay in front of it. Coming off a great game at LSU.
His previous game before that was the December 5th game against Houston that preceded the South Carolina shutdown. Mark Smith has been struggling with his shot as of late, now just 2 for his last 13. Nice dump down. A ball fake will draw a foul. It's the second on Drew Smith, who can't find himself out of foul trouble. Meanwhile, Sonny, some high-flying action here early.
Great start for this Tiger team. 6 of 7 from the field. Many of them have been from above the rim, looking down.
ABC Network Men's Basketball is brought to you by Zaxby's. Hand-breaded chicken and fresh ingredients made to order only at Zaxby's. Don't think they have it north of the border, but boy, do they have some talent. A.J. Lawson, just one example of that. Let's take a look at the Canada youth team that he played on a couple of years ago, the under-18 team in 2018, and it had some SEC flavor. A&M's Emmanuel Miller scored 16 a game. Andrew Nemhard, who started at Florida, now comes off the bench for Gonzaga, gave him 9 a game. And A.J. Lawson was the leading scorer, 18.5 points per game.
You know, Lawson is the guy that maybe a year ago it was too early to put the tag on him of how great he could be. Came out of high school a year early, so he's a young junior. But I remember last year there was so much expectations maybe were too high, and for someone to fill the big shoes that he had to fill. But when you talk to Frank Martin, you go, hey, he loves the kid. He said he started the last 2 years every game for us. He's averaged 13 points a game each year. They had 10 wins last year, 11 wins the year before in conference play. But so far, he's emerged this season as the potential star that everybody thought he could be. But I think he's older, got more confidence.
Kuznard makes 1 of 2 from the line. Here's Kobe Brown. Javon Pickett pressured. And Mark Smith gets in the lane and commits a charge. That's his first. Drew Smith is on the bench right now with 2. Interesting discussion with both of these head coaches, Frank and Conzo Martin, about their 2-foul participation. And you go to Ken Palm, look it up on the team stats. Conzo's 2-foul participation stands at 9.8%. And what that means is if you pick up your second foul in the first half, on average, you're playing for him, you'll only play 10% of the remaining minutes. The NCAA D1 average is 23%. And he said, listen, with a guy like Drew Smith, I usually trust him to play. I trust him to stay out on the floor a little bit more. But foul trouble has been a real limitation for Drew Smith in the last handful of games.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's only had double figures 2 of his last 5, and because he's been on the sideline. Now, at A&M, he didn't have as many fouls, played the second half, had a terrific second half. He leads the league in steals, and anytime a guy leads the league or your top 1, 2, or 3, you know that. Maybe he gets over-aggressive, been called on a lot of reach-ins, and so I would think most guards like Drew Smith would rather be playing than sitting, so you got to be careful of the fouls you pick up early.
A.J. Lawson just picked up a foul. That's his first. I love just getting coaches' feel for things like that. And I talked to Buzz Williams about it today. I talked to Frank, talked to Conzo. And they said, listen, the numbers spit out one thing. But like Einstein once said, the numbers don't always mean what the numbers mean. So point being that it's always a case-by-case basis. And Frank said, we know sometimes Jeremiah Tillman gets into foul trouble. So if he picks up a second, yeah, we'll run a play to go right at him, get him out of the game, or even if he picks up his first. I know Conzo's probably going to take him out of the game. Here comes a double to him. They back off. Results in an open 3, and Tillman with the putback. Once, twice, no. Kobe Brown, yes.
Outstanding effort by Tillman on the offensive glass. The tallest man on the floor, longest, kept the ball alive, made easy bucket for Kobe Brown.
Bryant struggled with it. Minaya kicks it out. Here's T.J. Moss for 3.
Moss can shoot it. Solid last year. At times inconsistent, as expected. You can believe this South Carolina team will settle in defensively and make it harder for Missouri to get shots. Now, can they keep them off the glass? It's been a mismatch so far down low. Now Minaya is not big enough to handle Tillman.
Buggs dumps it inside. Size advantage for Mizzou, but Brown has it blocked. Here's a run out for Carolina. T.J. Moss. Made one, missed the second. Buggs will push. He doesn't shoot it very often. Gives it out to Mark Smith, who passed up a shot.
And Mark Smith, there's his confidence, right? Passed up a shot, that's the shot he should take.
Bryant, quick up. Bryant. He's named after Kobe Bryant, but this is Kobe Brown. That would be something else. Turnaround jumper goes. What do you tell a struggling jump shooter?
Well, you've got to get out of it yourself. That's the only thing. You go to practice. The other thing is try to get a bucket early in the game. Now, he did get a layup. Good steal by Buggs.
Whoa! And a flex after the circus shot. Bugs the chance with a three-point play.
Active hands at finish. Bugs, the transfer from Hawaii, known as an assist guy. This time took it himself. A little circus at the end. The pipes are out early.
School record assist for a career while at Hawaii. Go ahead.
Well, you go back to how does a guy get out of a shooting slump? Obviously, that guy has to make shots. If you get a layup, get to the free throw line. He's a great free throw shooter. Do some things on the move so you're not just standing and when a ball comes to you, you're thinking, oh no, I shoot it. Do stuff on the move. Cut to the basket. Do things. But if you've got it, you still have to take that shot because your teammates are expecting you to.
Previous foul was on Moss. It's his first. Missouri up a dozen here with 12 minutes to go in the first half. Here's Levesque on the post. Going on Tillman. Carolina just 3 for 11 from the floor to start this game. Couple that with 4 turnovers. It's been a very slow start for the Gamecocks.
And the key always to defending a Frank Martin team, you got to block out. He always has guys aggressive as offensive rebounders. As John Calipari said, they'll run you up into the bleachers if you don't block them out.
Tillman gives it up. Ball movement to Pickett. Deshaun Bryant gives him 4 boards a game, has one here. Bryant with the mid-range. More early.
That is where he's expanded his game to make shots off the move and facing the hoop.
Brian Parby has 6. Pinson with the turnover. Missouri has doubled up South Carolina 20-10 early on. Central, followed by Auburn and Arkansas at Bud Walton Arena right here on the SEC Network. You can watch anywhere on the app. Kentucky team anxious for a win. John Calipari says, you know, the numbers have suggested we got some guys who should be playing together, and we're going to try that this time out. So, changes coming. A lot of changes from South Carolina. They played that game December 5th against Houston. 3 days later, paused team activities, canceled or postponed each of their next 5 games. And when everyone else was starting conference play, South Carolina opened with Florida A&M. That was their first game in 4 weeks. Played again 4 days later. Then the Ole Miss game was postponed. Tennessee game postponed. Finally went to Baton Rouge on Saturday. Frank Martin didn't go. Neither did 2 other assistants. And Bruce Shingler was left to lead the way. So this will be just the 4th game in a 45-day span for Frank. And he was very honest and transparent with us, as he always is. So we talked to him today about just how hard it is to coach during COVID-19 and everything their team has been through.
I think what was interesting, we talked to him, and you asked him a question about that, coaching, and can he be who he is, tough enough because you're not practicing enough, as you see his face. He said, you know, I'm battling who I am as a coach because I can't be the person I want to be off the court. Now, those of us who know Frank Martin, he is very warm and generous to us and his guys off the floor. He's kind of a touchy guy. His guys like playing for him. Now, what you see on the court, he's a tough man to play for. But because they can't be close off the court, and he says his players go to practice, then from practice they go to their dorm room, and then he doesn't get to see him and touch him as much. It's been tough on him to try to figure out how to coach in this new world.
Woods the touch assist, but the shot doesn't go down. You know, it's funny. We talked to him mid-morning. A little bit later, I had a call with A&M and Buzz Williams, and he said the exact same thing. He said, you know, the guys, they leave practice, they grab a box lunch, they go back to the apartment. I can't bond with them. We can't talk about life. We can't do the life lessons we normally. So then they only know me for what I am on the court. And if you're an intangibles coach, and I think Frank Martin is very much an intangibles coach in terms of do the right things the right way. We don't have to be the most talented to win, even though they're very talented. But do the intangibles right, and it will lead to victories. That doesn't work in this era when you can't push and push, because then they don't get the same kind of break and learning skills that they normally get from a head coach. Tillman's got a size advantage inside after Levesque picked up his second. Tigers don't go to him. And Trey Anderson on him at just 6'6". Contested 2. Jamal Pickett throws it in.
That's a tough bucket. I think it was Pickett who turned the game around for Missouri at A&M. That first half, it was ugly for a while, but then Pickett hit a 3 and then hit the layup. He had a terrific ball game.
TJ Moss has hit a couple threes. Carolina trailing by 9, just 5 of 16 shooting to start this game for South Carolina.
Always keep an eye on Pinson on the offensive end for Mizzou. He's good off the dribble. Breaks down defenses, loses that.
Race to the free ball, and Seventh Woods comes up with it. Columbia native has started his career playing for Roy Williams in North Carolina. Rubbin's
got
racing,
active hands and tipped it back in. Good play, easy play, and this Carolina defense is better defensively each possession. Slowly crawling their way back in this game.
Drew Smith on the bench with 2 fouls and an offensive foul now on Drew Buggs.
Frank Martin's defense, they do not give you much room. They'll go chest to chest. If you're quick enough to beat them off the dribble, then you might get them in some movement where you can find and pick and choose. But if you can't beat them off the dribble, they'll be tough to score on in the half-court sets.
Trey Anderson taking it down the lane. They'll count it. Looks like that's the second on Buggs as Anderson, the 6'6" sophomore, gets his first points of the night.
Did not play in the game at LSU and had 4 points in the previous 2. He's long, lanky, can shoot it, so put it on the floor. Obviously, Frank Martin not happy with a couple of guys and the way they've been defended. So Trey Anderson, early minutes.
And I take it back, one on Buggs. It was instead the first on Tillman. South Carolina on a 7-0 run over the last 40 seconds.
And Drew Smith in the lineup. Remember, he's got 2 personal fouls. Always got to be careful of the offensive end, not picking up that third.
Tillman trying to muscle in. Minaya the board. Oh, not a good look from Seventh Woods. Tillman credited with the takeaway. And then a rip through, and they get 7th with the reach in. That'll be the second on the Soda City native. 2? That's 2. I got to say. I mean, the players kind of know it, right? I mean, I mentioned 2 foul participation for Brazil. Frank's even more strict. Only 3.5% of minutes played by guys in the first half with 2.
I'd have been flashing 1. I'd been saying 1. That's just 1.
That's only 1.
They're wrong.
By the way,
Frank, there's 1.
If you're curious, the bookends in the SEC, Tom Crean lets him play 39% of the minutes after 2 fouls. Mike White at just 1%. 0 for 3 off the mark from Drew Smith. By the way, Mike White's team playing without Colin Castleton tonight. They lead Tennessee by 5 at home. Tillman, the running rub. Here's Brown. Couple ball fakes, and he lost it. They say it's Missouri's basketball. South Carolina's put together a 7-0 run, coinciding with a 2-minute Mizzou drought. We got a 5-point game.
Okay, in studio, we update over.
All right, great to see a friend in Columbia. Number 19, Missouri has a 5-point lead. Here's what the net rankings look like, by the way. Tennessee, number 4 in the country. Missouri checks in the top 25, and South Carolina makes it 7 in the top 70 for the SEC. But Tennessee playing without Jaden Springer, different team. Sonny, what do you think about the way Alabama's been playing lately?
They've been off the chart. I don't think I expected it, but you know what? When you have leadership out front, the guy playing extremely well, John Petty, shooting it, and he stretches defenses, and he was player of the week this week. So when you've got seniors shooting as well as they're shooting, they're off to a good start. See if they can maintain it. They're the early leader in the clubhouse, so to speak.
Mark Smith makes a 3. He's just 3 for his last 13 from deep. And his 3-point average set at 26%.
Smaller lineup for both teams in there. Mitchell Smith is not a true center, though 6'10", he can guard a lot of positions.
A South Carolina turnover on the walk by Hannibal. 6th turnover of the game for South Carolina. Interesting, both of these head coaches have reputations and resumes as hard-nosed defense first, rebounding first teams instead of offense. Yet South Carolina has been offensive-minded more than most would realize under Frank Martin. And Konzo this year has taken his foot off the brakes and slid it over to the gas.
Yeah, and sometimes it's up to personnel. I think Missouri, not that they were forced to play faster, but when you've got a guy like Pinson that can push it at a pace, all players like to play faster. There's more shots, more shot opportunities. And for Missouri fans, if you think back to Frank Martin's teams that came in and played well when he was at Kansas State, Frank's teams pushed it. Jacob Pullen, Clemente, they had terrific guys. Michael Beasley, he likes to push it. Now, again, your reputation is we're a defensive team that likes to rebound, and that's what he hangs his hat on. But if you do those things on the defensive end, he likes you to push, much like Konzo Martin does this season.
9th season as South Carolina's head man. Had to sit out a few days of practice, was back at it running yesterday. He said, man, I was worn out by the end of that practice. Here's a Missouri takeaway. Mitchell Smith with the jam.
Yeah, great athlete, great length, great hands, great anticipation.
Pull-up jumper. Hannibal, no. Rebound, Bryant. All the Gamecocks are on the glass, and Minaya gets the putback.
Must put a body and keep them off because they will surround you.
With everybody on the glass, nobody back. Javon Pickett gets the breakaway point.
How about that pass? I think it was Drew Smith. Pickett can run the floor.
A clank from 3, and then Bryant is held. We'll see who that foul ends up being on.
Now, Konzo Martin loves the way Mitchell Smith plays and what he gives him on both ends of the floor. Defensively, as I said, he can guard probably 2 through 5. I'm not sure you put him on a point guard, but you could. He's quick, not a physical guy down low, but he can challenge big guys when he has to. Played great defensively against Illinois, and they're a solid big ball club.
Keyshawn Bryant with another one coming his way. 7 team fouls on Missouri. The previous one was on Javon Pickett.
Played a lot of minutes Saturday night at LSU, 35 minutes, as you mentioned before, 26 points, 7 rebounds, 4 block shots. Very active player.
Konzo Martin picked up this weave overseas, watching ball in the offseason. Drew Smith is able to slide down and finish. Picked up that 3-man weave up top, watching the team in Spain playing. Step on the baseline by Bryant, and you got guys that can drive. Great way to get them look to the basket.
And defenders are staying with their guys. Many teams will just switch this if you got switchable parts up front. South Carolina decided not to, and when you get a half step behind either a Drew Smith or a Pinson, you're probably in trouble.
You mentioned personnel. Konzo told me, he said, we had this in, but we never really used it much in games. I just wasn't confident we had the right guys to run it. And a run out will end up in a foul on TJ Moss, his second. Foul trouble piling up for Carolina. I think it's really fascinating, John. People learn that coaches have continuing education to learn the game, to learn what fits, to pick up things that might be a good fit for their program.
Well, and you'll see, coaches, they share stuff with other coaches. Coaches go to clinics. As you said, Konzo was overseas when he saw that. Coaches are always learning, always trying to figure out what works for their personnel versus their system is always, once you get the kid in there, you got to fit my system. And when we talked to Konzo earlier this season, he talked about the up-tempo that they wanted to play. And again, it has to do with the fact that Pinson is so good in the open floor, can get the ball up and down the floor quickly.
Largest lead of the game for Mizzou, up 13 now. Keyshawn Bryant in the background for South Carolina. Gets 7 early.
Gamecocks have been a bit stagnant, and what I mean by that is on the offensive end, they're not having hard cuts. Soft cuts are easy to defend if you're a defensive team like Mizzou. So you've got to make hard cuts. You've got to move the basketball, try to find openings, because every shot right now, the last 4 minutes, have been challenged by this Missouri team.
Not an easy season for Frank Martin. You may notice the new dude. He's not copying Andy Kennedy as much as AK would like him to, but his battle with COVID was so bad, clumps of his hair was falling out. So whether his wife Anya signed off on it or not, he just said, let's get the Clippers, let's clean this thing up. Trey Hannibal's got another free throw coming.
You suppose, was it easier watching from his home Saturday, or is it in person hard when you watch his reaction?
He pointed out he's been coaching for the better part of 3 decades. He's only missed 3 games before. Knocked away on the entry to Tillman. He's back on the floor. And this is the first time he had a chance to actually sit and watch. Kobe Brown gets one to go. Last time he did it, his daughter was in a cheerleading competition. You know about that. So they were at the facility. He said had no signal, didn't want to follow it anyway. Other times he didn't have the ability to follow. The pull up for Trey Anderson. It was a game that I don't want to say they should have won, but they led for almost 34 minutes. Very impressive outing against a talented LSU team. But they didn't have that intensity late. They didn't have their legs late, as you pointed out. Here's Brown.
Tom, it's maybe the most aggressive we've seen Kobe Brown, at least on the offensive end, whole season.
Minaya up close, drops it in. Here's a dish, Tillman the flush.
Good pass, Mark Smith. Tillman with another high percentage shot. He hasn't missed any of those.
Minaya, got it. A really slow start for the South Carolina team. They trailed 8-0 when Frank used a timeout. They were a bit wobbly. Wobbly is the first Friday afternoon at Les Bourgeois when the sun is out. But they've steadied their feet, and now they're back in this game. Smith saw somebody open. First row. 8-point Missouri lead, 19th ranked Tigers trying to hold on here in the first half. Hi, gentlemen. Great to see you. Always good, if you like good players, to see Jeremiah Tillman on the floor coming off of a double-double. Last 5, he's been fantastic. And John, the difference is he's able to stay on the floor. You can go to Ken Palm, look up his fouls per 40 minutes. As a freshman, it was through the roof. 7.5 fouls. And remember that Kansas exhibition? They gave him 7 fouls each because it was he fouled out of that one. This year, much better, and much better against premier opponents as well. The numbers even more impressive in conference play. Where have you seen the most growth from him?
Well, he's matured. Understands his game. Doesn't overreact to certain calls. It used to be where he picked up 1. You kind of thought he was going to pick up the 2nd right away, so he stays on the floor, patient offensively, doesn't reach so much defensively, stays on the ground, can still make the blocks, but he doesn't overreact. And again, that's probably maturity, and it's probably great coaching that they've worked with.
It came to mind. Here's a kick out to Mark Smith, and he'll lay it up, and we're going to whistle right afterwards. And we got an injured player down for Missouri, Xavier Pinson. This does not look good.
A.J. Lawson missed that shot in the corner. He is 0 of 4 tonight, coming in as one of the top scorers in this league, averaging nearly 19 a game, and he's been on fire in SEC play. Had 30 in the first game. He had 22 at LSU, but Mizzou has covered him up and made each shot difficult. What
happened with Xavier Pinson on this? Right in the middle of the lane. Oh, he caught a knee to the head on his way down. Javon Pickett clipped him right in the back of the head. Athletic trainer Pat Beckman. Check on him. Meanwhile, gymnastics takes over the SEC network every Friday night, and this week our doubleheader starts right across the street at the Hearn Center. Number 12 Kentucky takes on number 20 Missouri at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Then it's number 18 Auburn and 10th ranked Alabama from Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa. Kusnar will bring it up for South Carolina, trailing by 10.
Kusnar always says he's had a quiet half too, only 1 point. They've got an outstanding backcourt, but they've not played well tonight. The Tigers have.
Lawrence Watson on the floor for Missouri. Came up with a takeaway. Bugs looking for him. Instead, it's Mark Smith. Eyes are fired. Smith knocks it down.
Frank Martin said today that he knew there was one guy that could hurt them and shoot them out of the gym. It was Mark Smith. No matter if he's not shooting well where he is, they can't let him get hot.
Pinson's getting some attention over on the Missouri bench. Hey, good news. Pat Mahomes coming out of Kansas City. Looks like he's on his way towards recovery. Took a couple good steps yesterday and today. Pull up. Kind of thought, I mean, you got a Blue Springs jersey hanging behind you. I thought some Chiefs talk would get you going.
Well, I'll get there. I wasn't worried that he wouldn't play. I thought he'd be okay. Now they're saying he might have been choked out and not had a concussion. That's interesting.
Anaya. Another loose ball found by the Gamecocks. Kusnar couldn't get it to go. Went over the backboard, but they said stayed in play, and it ends up being an easy bucket for Trey Anderson.
Wow, that's a heck of a way to get a bucket. The coach is really never frustrated if two guys are going for the ball and they lose it. He may yell the fact they've got to talk back, but still means you're aggressive.
Deep one. Smith from Boonville knocks it down. You said as a shooter, you got to get that shot going yourself. Looks like Mark Smith has done that.
Yeah, he looks comfortable now, and that was deep. One of the Gamecocks ran to, maybe it was Pickett, that left Mark Smith alone. Got to know your personnel.
What a pretty one from Bryant. Missouri's made 9 of their last 11 after some turnover issues. Smith had space, but he lost the ball. Anderson's been all over the place. 30 seconds left in the half. Almost a 3-second difference. Well, it doesn't matter. Shot clock, game clock. Trey Anderson.
I think they were gonna maybe wait a little bit, but Trey Anderson said, "I'm open, faced up, nobody's here." Missouri with the last possession.
Or not. Drew Bugs with the push-up will be his second. It's really interesting for a team like South Carolina. Not only have they not been on the floor consistently, but individuals haven't been on the floor much. And Trey Anderson's kind of feeling himself here in this first half.
Well, and they've needed him to be good tonight because they have not played well offensively. But guys coming off the bench, got to give you energy, got to give you something.
Tillman DeBoer decides against Mahomes' launch, and Missouri's got an 11-point lead at the half. Tigers halfway to 90. What a performance, shooting 61% from the floor. Speaking of shooting, Pat Bradley back in the studio, or somewhere at least with electricity. He's with Dari. Gentlemen.
Gentlemen,
Well, COVID's so backward, even the Golden Girls get sent to the upper deck. Missouri with an 11-point lead at home against South Carolina. 19th ranked Tigers shot the lights out in the first half. South Carolina had a great defensive performance in the half court. Let's take a look at the highlights. And for the South Carolina team, Trey Anderson came off the bench to be more than productive.
Yeah, he shot it well and produced 9 points, but they really struggled offensively, and they needed someone to come in and give him a spark. Now, once he did that, they still were not able to shut down this Missouri team. And Mark Smith, we talked about it early, could he get himself going? And he did. Same thing Frank Martin said to us. He worried about if he goes off and makes 3 or 4 threes on us, we're in trouble. And he did. 15 points in the first half, 3 of 5 beyond the three-point line, so his confidence is high. And Jeremiah Tillman started really where he left off. And really, it's been this way every game in conference play. High percentage shots at the rim, easy to shoot. The 70% that he's shooting in SEC play, no matchup for anybody in the Gamecocks side.
So here's a look at the numbers. Missouri out shooting South Carolina by a big margin. Mark Smith got his stroke going. A.J. Lawson has not. 0 for 5 from the floor. He missed all 4 threes. Coming off of a 22-point, 5-steal performance, he is scoreless in the first half of this one.
And you would think he has to get that team going. Leads them in scoring. He's got to be more valuable. Now guarded by Drew Smith, one of the better defenders. Good start this time for Missouri right off the tip.
And Levesque missed some time in the first half with 2 personal fouls. Avoided picking up his 3rd there. Tillman comes out with the block. A handoff to Pinson, who's back on the floor. Tillman will clean it up. Wow. What a performance by Jeremiah Tillman. The coming out party is now a few weeks old.
Gamecocks wanted to start this half differently than this, but Mizzou, the first 40 seconds just started in a hurry.
Levesque missed the bunny. Where's Tillman? There he is. Couldn't handle the pass. And he got a jump ball to go to South Carolina. Man.
When you're 6'10", keep your hands up. They tried to make a lob to Levesque, and Tillman, terrific with his hands on defense, even better with his hands on the offensive end.
12 points and 7 boards already. It's really fun to watch players emerge after they finally mature. You know, Frank Martin brought up Chris Silva's name today, and the way he was playing at the end of his career versus the inconsistencies that he saw in the beginning. I think there's Tillman with another block. There's probably some similarities there.
Yeah, I think so. And sometimes, obviously, big guys have a lot of pressure on them just because they're tall, they're supposed to be good. And because they're big, they're supposed to be mean and aggressive and all those things that aren't necessarily true. And Tillman is somewhat of a soft-hearted guy, but he has matured. And this season, and Conzo's always told us, if we can get it in 4 or 5 minute spurts, now and then, that's what Tillman can give him. And the start of this second half is a great example of that. Powerful on one end, active on the defensive end.
Kusnard with the foul. There's something else that you touched on with Jeremiah Tillman that I think belies his big-heartedness. The fact he was just a kid coming out of East St. Louis as a 4-star recruit, is there's also pressure within his family to do well, to make it to professional basketball, to help pay the bills because the expectations have been so high for so long.
I think a lot of players live with that at the collegiate level. Some of it's realistic. Most of it's not realistic for every player. But if you're Jeremiah Tillman, again, you're big, you're strong, you're physical, you can run, you're gifted. I think he's had the right. I think he's had the right collegiate coach for him to improve year by year.
Floater, high off the window by Drew Smith.
Soft touch.
Red hot start to the second half for Missouri. Lawson hasn't gotten it going yet. And that'll get him on a streak to the basket and a chance for a three-point play for A.J. Lawson.
Yeah, and a bad play by Drew Smith because he picks up his third foul. You've got beat on the cut, so you're behind. Now when you do this, you pick up your third. Does that take you out of the game? You don't want to put it in the coach's hands. Now he's been terrific against Lawson, and Conzo Martin sitting there thinking, do I take him out now or do we let him play a bit?
And they'll take him out as Pickett enters the game for the Missouri senior. A.J. Lawson to the free throw line. Junior from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. First team preseason in the SEC. Frank Martin said he's our charisma. He's improved his assist to turnover ratio this year than where it's been in the past couple.
And they've got to get his energy going the second half. If they're going to make a run, a legit run, because defensively you think South Carolina's good enough maybe to do it. Tonight, so far they've not been. Mizzou is shooting 60% from the field.
Keyshawn Bryant's first. And Mark Smith to the free throw line. Illinois Mr. Basketball coming out of Edwardsville, Illinois. In fact, pardon me, that last foul was on Jessa Minaya. And that is Manaya's first.
I got shoot. What's that?
Loss in the board. Where can South Carolina have success in the half court?
Well, they've got to keep the floor spaced. In the first half, they got too tight, and there was nothing in the lane for anybody to operate. Good defense there by Tillman. He comes weak side, but then where is the guy that Tillman's going, right? If a guy leaves you to make a block, where do you find an opening so your teammates can find you? Right now, South Carolina not taking a high percentage look at shots.
Tried to thread it into Kobe Brown, knocked away. Kusnard has it. Will push. The lob and a high percentage finish by Keyshawn Bryant. Now they got Lawson guarding Tillman inside. Benson blows baseline and picks up the foul from Trey Anderson. South Carolina trying to find some offense. Keyshawn Bryant is 7 in the first half. And one of their few buckets here in the second half. Up the lob, Kusnard from 25. Mizzou Arena, the site where the Tigers have a 12-point lead into the second half in Columbia. That's where my partner resides. Not quite at the arena, but, you know, within spitting distance over in Atlanta. Tom Hart, John Sunville, he's over on that side. Really interesting, or that side. I always get confused which way the camera's pointing. Really interesting season for Missouri, Sonny. They've won in a lot of different ways. They've run in different venues, both home, road, and even neutral in Omaha against Oregon. What do you see as the identity of this Missouri team when they're playing well?
Tom, the reason they're a top 20 team is they've won different ways. I always thought they won only when Pinson played well, but that's not the case anymore. Tillman has numbers some nights. Mark Smith hasn't been shooting, and then all of a sudden he does. You take a look at their opponents on the net, the quad one wins. This is an elite company when you beat teams like this because there's only 4 other teams that have done this. Houston, Gonzaga, Kansas, Oklahoma State. So you're in a different company. And the reason every time out that I see Missouri play, I'm always surprised that they don't need one guy to play well to be good. They have so many options and so many different looks on the offensive end that can beat you. Because defensively, night in, night out, Conzo's team is very, very good.
Pinson gives him 14 points a game, but that's just his first point of this one. Kusnard brings it up for South Carolina. Gamecocks trailing by a baker's dozen. Here's Bryant.
Got to find ways to get easy buckets on the offensive end, South Carolina does, and see if they can run a string of stops and get this game to about a 4 or 5 point game and see if they get going Missouri does not want to leave Lawson open to get him going.
First 3 of the night for Lawson. He was scoreless at the half. He has 5 in the first 5 minutes of the second. In reference to the net rankings, there's a further discussion that will occur, I'm sure, within the next couple weeks. The net is, and those quad 1, quad 2 wins are weighted towards road wins. Well, as we know, or if you've been paying attention, you realize that there is no home court advantage in college basketball this season. Yet that's why the equation is what it is, because it's been so tough to win on the road in college hoops. And it'll be really curious to see how the selection committee uses the net as a tool when it comes to selection Sunday. Tillman is able to draw the foul on Anderson, and he's got 14 now.
A mismatch down low. Trey Anderson goes 6'6", 205, folks, just 205 pounds, and you're going against one of the bigger dudes in the SEC. Jeremiah Tillman made it look easy, and if they're going to stay with Anderson on him, if you're a teammate of Tillman, you just let him get comfortable wherever he wants in the post, wait for him to get there, and then you find him and put it inside.
Tillman has been shooting 74% in SEC play. He is 7 of 9 from the floor tonight, and he just made Anderson pick up his third. Levesque has committed a couple. Konzo get Jeremiah some rest here for a couple minutes.
And Tom, another change for Tillman is he's more aggressive because he's making free throws. He was below 50% much of the year. He's at over 69% now from the free throw line in SEC play. So the more comfortable he is going line, the more aggressive he'll be on the offensive end.
Kusnard from straight away. Got it.
Another guy that could get this Gamecock team going. Missouri's not been able to put South Carolina away officially. South Carolina keeps hanging around, and they've got a good enough team offensively to get back in, but they have not made enough stops.
Buggs turns the corner. It'll be interesting in this one if South Carolina can close the gap further. And Javon Pickett with a teardrop. To see, John, if they have the legs to close this one out in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, good point. We already talked about they looked tired at the end of that game at LSU.
Bryant shoves it back in.
Oh, he dunked that from about 6 feet away, I think.
Yeah. He wasn't going to let the rim stop him, was he?
No, and they've not been able to stop Buggs off the dribble. He just keeps dribbling wherever he wants to go on the offensive end. South Carolina's not taking anything away from Missouri with their guarding.
Foul on Pickett is second.
Take a look, see where Bryant takes off. He's a long ways from the rim now.
Yeah. I mean, he's going over dudes.
You know, early in the season, I was going to have South Carolina before a game was postponed, and I was talking to Frank Martin about Bryant. And at that point, he wanted Keyshawn Bryant to get his oomph back. He was settling a little bit, worried about jump shots from the outside, which all his friends and people are telling you to get because you're supposed to prove at the next level you can do that. But they needed him to get the oomph back, attack the glass, drive the basketball, and I think he's starting to do that.
Tillman. Whoa. Getting some attention now, and he puts it up line, and he'll go to the free throw line, and that'll be on Keyshawn Bryant. You know, triple team in there.
Yeah, you said attention. Could have been 4 jerseys around him.
So Tillman at the free throw line. The evolution is just, it's astonishing.
Impressive numbers, and again, he missed the free throw, but he's comfortable there. He wasn't a month ago when he got to the free throw line. He wasn't comfortable. Look at the defense. Blocked another pass.
They're trying to get the lob. Here's Pickett. Rejected by Keyshawn Bryant.
So South Carolina has done the high pick and roll with their 5-man, and they've rolled the 5-man in the guard twice this half, has tried to make the pass over the top of Tillman. Tillman's blocked 2 of them, and they've gotten breaks on both.
Quick look, Drew Smith. Second 3. Batted away by Smith. Cornell Mann was trying to convince Drew Smith to be more aggressive on the offensive end. The thought was, we need you to be a scorer. If you touch it in a scoring position, get ready to shoot, put it up. Usually coaches don't have to tell guys that twice.
No, and Drew Smith is one of those just all-round terrific players, and offensively doesn't necessarily look for himself, but when he does, then what happens, he puts more pressure on the defensive team, and his teammates then get more open. He's going to find open 3 looks because opposing coaches aren't necessarily worried about him making a lot of threes. I think Cornell Mann's telling him, you're good enough to make open threes, take them when you get there.
Missouri shooting it at a 63% clip in this one. They made 5 of 11 from deep. Mitchell Smith fouled. If that's Levesque, it's his 3rd. We will sort it out. 62-48, Missouri comfortable against South Carolina. SEC basketball continues tomorrow night. We've got Kentucky on the network. They take on Georgia 7 Eastern, followed by Auburn at Arkansas at Bud Walton Arena right here on the SEC network. You can watch anywhere on the ESPN app. Kentucky searching for a point guard. Not as easy as finding a sand trap at L.A. Nickel. They haven't had anybody that's really played well at that position this season. Take a look at the SEC standings right now. And Alabama's gone from L.A. Nickel to Old Hawthorne. Undefeated 6-0 in the conference, John Sumble.
Impressive, and their wins have been impressive. And not only are they winning, they're blowing teams out. LSU strong offensively. Tennessee having a fight tonight in Florida. Mississippi State, those 2 losses are 2 games that they should have won. I say that they only scored 5 points in the last 9 minutes against Kentucky in regulation, then lose in double overtime. The other one they had A&M pretty well handled, and they gave that one back. So pretty strong teams up front. You take a look at Missouri at 2-2. They had a hot start to a season. Mississippi State got them at their home court.
Alabama LSU tonight, 9 o'clock on ESPN2. Mitchell Smith makes the first. If you like points, that'll be a fun one to watch. We were supposed to have, or at least I was supposed to have, A&M and Vanderbilt tomorrow night. That one has been called off due to COVID protocol within the Vanderbilt program. So Aggies, I don't think they even got on the plane to leave College Station. They'll have to make an adjustment. Largest lead of the game for Mizzou. Here's Minaya. Bryant, sweet shot.
That's a tough move. He does it off the dribble, step back. He's improved his shooting, and he's doing that against a pretty good defender in Mitchell Smith, who's got a long reach.
Loose ball in the backcourt. Aggressive move to get after it will result in a foul on Trey Hannibal.
Keyshawn Bryant could not do this the past 2 seasons. Off the dribble, step back, face up. Pretty tough to defend that kind of move with his athletic ability.
Halfway to his total Saturday night at Red Stick, we had 26. Drew Smith has another one coming. Florida's all over Tennessee right now. It's an 18-point lead 5 minutes into the second half in Gainesville.
Surprising number. If they finish that off, that's a surprise. Tennessee's one of the better teams in the country.
Came in 6th ranked team in the country. By the way, great game last night in Waco. Kansas lost consecutive conference games for the first time in 8 years. Lost at Oklahoma State last week. Lost on the road and Baylor last night. Baylor, one of the elite. Bryant thought he had saved it. John, seems like you got Baylor, Gonzaga in one pot, everybody else in another.
Yeah, trying to fill below them. There are certain teams that make a run to get up there, but so far I think those two teams. Baylor had a great win on Saturday at Texas Tech when their All-American Jared Butler, he went 35 minutes without even getting in the scoring column. So last night Butler was terrific.
We got a whistle on the make, an offensive foul, and Javon Pickett his third.
After the bucket should be good after he released it, I would think. But how easily this Missouri team is getting the ball where they want to on offense. Doesn't matter which player takes it, but they've been able to get it to the paint up around the rim quite easily against this Gamecock squad.
They did not count the basket. Missouri by 16. Levesque all alone. Tillman left him be, and Wildens Levesque, the sophomore from Brockton, Mass, has his first points of the night. Foul on the drive, and that will go against Hannibal. His second. Drew Buggs going to the free throw line. Product of Long Beach, California. Two-time All-Conference in Hawaii. He led conference in assists a couple of seasons. Okay, coaching in his future, one of the reasons he wanted to come join the Missouri program as a grad transfer. And when you've got a coaching mind like that on the bench and another one to come off the bench like Drew Buggs, that can bring Konzo and his team some stability.
Yeah, the staff talks about his off-the-chart intangibles, what he brings to this team. In the last two ball games, his minutes have gone up. He's been able to spell Pinson, give pretty good minutes. Obviously doesn't try to score a lot or try to look to score, but that's good because he's got great assists.
Colby with the steal, and he got tied up and wasn't too happy about it. Shot a look back at TJ Moss, who committed his third.
Solid first half by Kobe Brown. He extends it to the second half now on the defensive end. Strong, powerful, active. I think the coaching staff and maybe many fans were thinking he could have a breakout sophomore season. It maybe hasn't been extremely big numbers, but he's been impressive lately at 9 points and 5 rebounds and a couple blocks at A&M. And Konzo Martin said he thought it was his best game.
Flagrant foul. Kobe Brown out of Huntsville, Alabama, has another free throw coming. Missouri will retain possession after the second.
An odd number. He's a 50% free throw shooter. And I say odd because he's a good shooter. He's got good form, so obviously psychologically something happens when he gets on that line.
Possession of the Tigers, under 10 to go. The third on Moss. Here's Buggs. What's the weather in Columbia like today?
Low 40s. Beautiful day today, Tom. Tomorrow might get to 50 tomorrow.
I just checked though. Buggs transferred, as we mentioned, from Hawaii. It is 3:30 in the afternoon. It is 77 and partly cloudy in Honolulu.
Probably a little windy, I'm sure.
I would deal with it. Mike Smith for three at the shot clock buzzer.
How about the look of Mark Smith? His eye. Hey, he knows he's back. Doesn't take a shooter many to get going. We talked about it early in this broadcast. He is 4 of 6 beyond the three-point line tonight. 19 points.
Joe Lindsay going to take a look. Make sure he got it off before the shot clock expired. Talking with Konzo about Mark's struggles, he said, you know, there have been times where he thought maybe I should put it on the floor. Kind of the opposite of what you're talking about, I think, with Keyshawn Bryant. Shot clock violation, it won't count. And if you start thinking too much, you know, he can be a catch and shoot guy. If you start thinking too much, you hesitate for a moment, you lose your window.
Well, what's good about that, even though it doesn't count, is the fact that he took one bounce. Defenders want to get a shooter off his mark. So what I mean by it's a catch and release, they're not going to let you do that. But if you ball fake because he's a good shooter, guys are going to have to buy that. One bounce or two bounces usually frees you up. What Mark Smith was doing earlier was trying to get it all the way to the lane, and he was turnovers, bad shots, couldn't quite find out where he was going. I think the coaching staff said, hey, do what you do best. Stay with that.
Tillman got position. Goodness gracious. Jeremiah Tillman's got an 18-point night. He is 8 of 10 from the floor. He's looking like Doug Smith tonight. May have hurt his finger on the dunk.
Probably cut his fingernail. What do you think?
Yeah.
One bounce. Lawson gets the heck out of the way. Smart play defensively. Get out of there because big man is putting on a show.
You're either going to end up on a post or a mean. One of the two. Still have them. Meanwhile, Buggs with the personal foul commits his third. 18 points on 80% shooting.
Tom, what's neat for Jeremiah Tillman and for Missouri fans is it's a dominance inside of how he's playing. And he did it down at A&M, even though the numbers weren't huge. But every time he caught the ball and was double teamed, he was patient to get it out, make good passes to teammates. He split the defense twice at A&M and dunked both of them.
Awfully impressive development for Jeremiah Tillman. Little runner. Thought he would get a whistle, didn't come. Kusnard. Tillman will reject it just for good measure, but the foul came on the floor.
So think what Tillman did there. He had the shot blocked. Coaching staff wanted a foul. The shot was blocked. He ran rim to rim, right? Sprint, rim to rim. He is a great runner, so he gets down and he blocks a shot away.
Kusnard. Nope. And we're going to tie up. Will be possession to Mizzou. I think it's really hard for a team to be loose and have fun this season. And we've talked to coaches about it because life can be a grind no matter what you do, free time or not. And it's really good to see anybody, especially this Missouri team, being loose and having fun. Mitchell Smith with the board. Oh, fantastic attempt at a save by Lawson. Loose ball scooped up by the Tigers.
Keep going, Tom. Keep going. Call all this.
I mean, wow. Got a game of pinball going on. And it turns into a slip and slide. They have a chance to wipe the court. Missouri eventually turns it over, but the Tigers are up by 16. Wow, that is amazing, Dari. By the way, why don't you turn around and put more work in tonight? Not like you don't work hard enough. On my car radio every weekend. SEC Now coming your way after the games tonight, 11 o'clock Eastern. By the way, the big game of the night, LSU and number 16 Alabama. I was just looking online. There is a line of students from the PMAC all the way to Tiger Stadium waiting to get into that one. They are fired up to see that Alabama team and, of course, their LSU team.
So give me what your thoughts are on the total points on that game.
Whatever your expert says, take the over. I mean, I think 170 is within reach. Would you agree with that?
Oh, there's no doubt. No doubt. The pace will be good. You just hope guys are making shots because they'll shoot them.
Yeah, I think that's a 86-84 final you could be looking at. Red Stick tonight, second three of the game for Anderson. Career night for Trey Anderson off the South Carolina bench. Seventh Woods back on the floor for South Carolina.
South Carolina has not made a run in this second half. Not even close to getting some stops. Maybe getting a bucket or two, 3 or 4 possessions. Coach Martin, we've seen that a lot right there, but not enjoying.
Carolina hasn't pulled to within single digits once in the second half. Mark Smith got another one coming his way. He's got 20 in this one. A.J. Lawson scoreless at the half, only 5 points in this game. Here's Seventh Woods trying to push. Man, he was a sensation coming out of Hammond School there in Columbia. Started his career at North Carolina. But remember when Zion came out and he had everybody aflutter based on his Instagram and his YouTube? Well, this guy was the originator. Out of Soda City, Seventh Woods was dunking on everybody. When he was 14 years old, he had like 15 million views on one dunk. He even beat out LeBron for the dunk of the night on SportsCenter. Part of the national championship team at North Carolina in 2017. Came back home as a transfer. Two-time Mr. Basketball in the state of South Carolina.
Frank Martin very comfortable with him as he sat out last season, was part of their team.
Another one coming for Anderson. Little used before tonight. And he goes 1 of 2. Tillman deep. He's gotten so much more comfortable, John, passing out of the double team, and therefore more comfortable when the double comes to him.
Well, and I think we've talked about maturity, and he just doesn't rush things anymore. He caught that, and he's almost looking. He knows he's going to be double teamed, and he waits, sees who's coming, sees where they're coming from, and if it's weak side like that time, his pass was tipped and deflected away. But he made some great assists in the A&M game in the second half. Early in his career, he might just kick it right back out to the guy who threw it into him and not really make a play.
Brown gets it blocked by Minaya, gets it back, and then takes it over the backboard. South Carolina's got Auburn up next this weekend. Auburn, a much different team with Sharif Cooper on the floor.
Tom, I've already voted Cooper as Player of the Year in the league. I have.
By weight, huh?
He's the best player. He's spectacular in what he does.
He is a Kusna.
Sharif Cooper is a play or two ahead of everybody on the floor in the games I've watched. It's off the chart how good he is.
Explain that to me. What do you mean? What do you see from his game that shows that?
Well, he'll make a pass you don't even see yet. I mean, he's gone a couple of high screen and rolls and throw a one-hand lob. You don't even see where the guy's coming and they're lobbing. He sees plays before they develop, like great players do. And he's changed. He has really changed how Auburn's play. But it's. If I had to compare, I'd have to go way back in my memory bank to a guy that played in the Big 12, T.J. Ford. T.J. Ford changed the game when he was on the floor, and Cooper does the same thing.
Here's Minaya. Drains it, and Konzo's going to use the timeout here. Justin Minaya with his second 3 of the game. 72-61. South Carolina's whittled it to 11 with 5:36 to go. Back in a minute. Let's take a look at the All-State Protection Spotlight. It begins and ends with Mizzou's hope for a big man in the middle. It's Jeremiah Tillman.
He's been impressive, not only scoring 18 points, but go 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 steals. He has been a force. And when he plays like this, there's a reason why this Missouri team is up 11 with 5 minutes to go. And you kind of wonder, does South Carolina have a run in them? And if they do, they're going to have to still deal with Tillman down the stretch.
Tillman making his 85th career start in this one, and he continues to climb Missouri record leaderboards in a lot of impressive facets.
He did not play in the game last year at South Carolina. He sat out 14 games. Had the stress fracture in his left foot. South Carolina dominated that game. Mike Kotsar was outstanding, and it wasn't close from the start.
From the baseline, Javon Pickett with the bucket.
Another solid night for Pickett at 8 points. When he gets to double figures, Tigers usually win.
Yeah, that's an amazing stat. Missouri is 11-1 in his career. The Belleville Lease product gets into double figures.
I might set a few picks early for him, if that's the case.
Yeah, let's go. Let's play the trends.
Let's get number 4 going.
Here's Keyshawn Bryant to the free throw line after the foul on Mark Smith. 4-star recruit coming out of Huntington Prep a few years ago. 1,000-point scorer. He's a 6'6" scorer coming off of a 26.4 block performance.
You know, I thought, Tom, I thought he turned the corner at the end of last year. Final 5 games, he averaged nearly 16 points and 9 rebounds. And he had 3 straight double-doubles. And it was kind of an emergence by the end of that sophomore season of what he could do this season.
3rd personal on Mark Smith. You wonder in a lot of sports, but college basketball, obviously one impacted majorly. Guys missing time on the court in season, missing time leading into the season, how that affects development. From the wing, nothing doing. Beautiful look into Bryant, and South Carolina going on a mini run here to make things interesting. They're taking it to 10.
Yeah, they got it to 10. Now can they get, again, you got to get stops. Missouri's been kind of easily been able to get the ball where they want to on the offensive end.
A couple games ago, Missouri lost a late lead against Mississippi State. It was a second half meltdown in many ways. Mississippi State's guards just took that game over.
DJ Stewart, Iverson Molinar, outstanding players at Mississippi State, rarely missed a shot in that second half.
I think those two combined to score 32 straight at one point as Drew Smith bangs it in. Missouri lost the game by 15. That at one point they had led by 14.
Yeah, in the second half, 29-point turnaround, which I don't know if I've ever seen.
Minaya. Dish, here's 7th Woods.
Tough shot, good defense by Mark Smith. And I thought the bucket by Drew Smith on the other end was one that wasn't hesitation. When you have the lead, don't hesitate. Keep doing what you're doing. Be aggressive trying to score the ball.
Rebound Minaya off the Mark Smith miss. Transition 3.
It's a tough shot. Tough shot for shooters when they come straight down the court and try to stop and make that shot.
Missouri leads by 12. 3:19 to go in regulation from Como. All right, Dari, thanks. Always an interesting matchup. Of course, Kermit Davis' dad was a coach at Mississippi State, went to school there. Adds a little something to the rivalry. Jeremiah Tillman in Missouri with a 12-point lead against South Carolina. Mizzou trying to climb above 500 in conference play, coming off of a 16-point win against A&M. Things have slowed down for Missouri in the second half, shooting just 33% from the floor after a red-hot first half. Bryant guarded by Brown. Man, physical inside. Maybe missed a whistle on Mark Smith, and Jeremiah Tillman just scratching his head. Really? That's me? You got me?
Well, Trey Hannibal doing whatever he could try to do to get that ball to the rim. What a great look from Tillman.
All right, it's going to be the fourth on Bugs instead of Tillman. Bugs trying to plead his case. I mean, that's a good leader, right? He'll take it instead of
you take it because you take it so that your big man doesn't have it.
Hannibal, out of Hartsville, South Carolina. Missouri up 11, 3:05 remaining. Series is tied 6 wins apiece.
Good down the stretch, Tom, because they have good free throw shooters. Great free throw shooters when you think of the Smith claim, right? Drew Smith's at 86%, Mark's at over 80, Mitchell Smith's over 80.
Missouri team that set the school record for free throw percentage last year. More coming for Bugs. Missouri goes to Tennessee this weekend, a Tennessee team that's getting it handed to them by Florida, down 3 touchdowns in Gainesville. That's Saturday on the SEC Network. I always thought that it's not necessarily who you play, it's when you play them, right? I don't think anybody wants to play Sharif Cooper in Auburn right now. And if you're going to catch Tennessee without Jaden Springer, that's the Tennessee team that you want to play.
Yeah, the Tennessee team we saw that played at Mizzou Arena was that night looked like they were unbeatable. How good they were defensively, offensively, number of weapons that they have. But Alabama went in there and gave them one, and now they're reeling down in Gainesville.
Frank not happy. Bryant crashed
eventually Coussard made the pass, but when he came off, he had 2 guys on him. If he swings the ball back to the top, there's either a shot or a wide open drive or a kick to another guy. So if the guard stays with the ball with 2 guys on him and continues to dribble it, yeah, that'll make a coach frustrated.
Minaya commits his second. Free throws coming for Drew Smith. .15 night. Started his career at Evansville. Led the Missouri Valley in three-point shooting at 48%. They don't still have the sleeves on their uniforms, do they? I wish they did. You don't remember those Evansville jerseys that had the sleeves?
Purple aces?
Yeah.
They were trendsetters. No one followed the trend.
What does that mean?
But they
I mean, if you're trend center, nobody follows.
Well, you're going to your own beat the drum, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Every time there was an Evansville guy that got the NBA, we'd kid about the shirts. Played with the guy Scott Hafner, who's one of the all-time great scorers.
Well, Scott, think how many points you would have had if you didn't have sleeves on during your career.
Just cut off the sleeve on your right arm, kid. You'd get shots up.
If South Carolina's looking for a positive tonight, they've got one to lean on in Trey Anderson. He's given Frank Martin great minutes and great production. Missouri turns it over up 14 now with 2:07 to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure Frank will take that back, though. I mean, I think he likes how Trey's played, but Frank looked like he's been frustrated all night. But again, he's had a team, and we won't make excuses for him because every team's going through stuff, but this team has been off the floor more than on the floor this season. And when they finally got back on the floor, they traveled to LSU on Saturday and to Columbia, Missouri tonight against the ranked Missouri Tigers. Not an easy 2 games.
It was really interesting, you know, during that shutdown from December 5th to January 2nd, I think they played a game, maybe a game. And they finally returned as that one's rattled in by Anderson. He was talking to the press. He said, I don't think you guys understand. My guys aren't in basketball shape because if they're told to stay in their apartment, they would get in serious trouble due to university policy if anyone saw them outside their apartment. It's not like they could go run in the street or get a workout in or play even playground basketball. All they can do is what they can do in their apartment. It reminds me of when the Cardinals were stuck in the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee and they were throwing balls against mattresses. Tillman got deep and drew the foul on Anderson. Perfect timing for our Zaxby's player of the game, Jeremiah Tillman, to go to the free throw line.
Solid night all the way around. Field goal shooting. Another double-double, 3 blocks, 3 steals. He's been comfortable at the free throw line. I shouldn't say that now because he's going to shoot a free throw, but 2 of 3 from the line.
Well, he knew it was off as soon as he left his hand. That's a good sign.
I think it didn't even leave his hand when he said it was off.
4th double-double in a 6-game span. Nearing a 20-point performance.
Impressive night, Tom. Impressive night. And he, you know what? The opposing coaches now have to find a way to slow him down, which opens up a lot of different avenues on the offensive end for this Missouri team.
Here's Sean Bryant with the back cut. Got 18. We got a timeout. The lead for Missouri 11 with under a minute to go. Ole Miss and Mississippi State coming up next. Alabama and LSU also in action in the late games tonight. Well, for South Carolina, they'll want to get back on the floor. They got Saturday against Auburn. And then midweek Georgia, and they're scheduled to go to Vandy on January 30th when a handful of other teams are playing in the Big 12 Challenge.
Well, it'd be good. Hopefully this team continues to play. The longest streak they had was early in the season. Right off the start, they played 3 games. Then they took the week away, or then you had a whole month off. Good long court pass. But then 2 games, and then they're off, and then 2 games. So hopefully they'll get to play this Saturday.
Naya with the foul, his 3rd. His dad, a special assistant with the New York Mets. They got a new owner, spent a lot of money, a little bit of drama, always drama coming out of the city. Former GM there. Here's Kobe Brown. Couisnard, Chicago native, floats it. And a hard crash on the glass. We got a foul on the floor. Ole Miss at Mississippi State to follow us. The Alabama LSU game over on ESPN2. Florida's got a 23-point lead at home against number 6 Tennessee.
Conference play, Tom, there's going to be a lot of scores sometimes you don't think about. They could be that way, but this league from top to bottom, I think anybody can win or lose. And it looks as though Alabama is in the driver's seat early, but there's a lot of games left to play.
I think it's 1 or 2 to go. Oh, taken away. But he couldn't grab it before it went across the sideline.
I got it out. I got it out.
Missouri's got to get it across. They do. About a 1-second difference. Shot clock and game clock. See if the Tigers get a look. We'll get a foul first. And Minaya commits his 4th. And that'll put Xavier Pinson on the line.
Quiet night for Pinson. 0 of 3 from the field. 1 of 2 from the foul line. A couple assists. Got hit in the head the first half. Had to come out. Good to see him back. An 80% free throw shooter. Another 80% free throw shooter, I should say, for this Mizzou team.
Hey!
14 seconds left. Missouri's going to have a comfortable win over South Carolina. Couisnard, no. Again, nothing. Bryant, no. And that's how this one will end. Tigers by 11. Missouri goes to 3-2. South Carolina will try to recover as they head back home. Sonny, always a pleasure. Go grab some
Enjoyed it, Tom. Great start from Missouri. Great ball game. Thanks.
Next time you get a burger, get a real one. 81-70, Missouri over South Carolina. That's your final. Let's get to the studio before Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Here's Dart.
All right, guys, thank you much. Romello White and Ole Miss getting ready for Mississippi State at the hump in Starkville. Ole Miss in that stingy defense, allowing just under 64 points a game. That is second in the league. Mississippi State in a 4-2 position in league play. First time in 9 years. We got the shooter here. Shooter, we got to show them what's going on in game.